Hey everyone, I'm tired. You know, I play a lot of these games, and in all of those games, I'm the adventurer, and I go out and I gather gold and treasure and fight monsters, and I just amass more and more of a fortune, but it's so tiring. I go back to these quest givers, and they just kind of give me more stuff to do, and I just have to go out and risk my life fighting these monsters and gathering all this treasure. It's a tiring life. When do I get to sit back and use all this money that I've gathered and find other people to do my bidding, other people to go fight the monsters and break up the cults and start revolutions? When do I get to tell somebody to go fetch me the head of a demon or the claw of a bugbear? When do I get to be the one who gets to sit around in taverns and kind of live the lap of luxury? Well, I have one way I could do it. I could become a lord. Well, that's really fitting, because today we're discussing Lords of Waterdeep. So let's go through a typical round of play in a game of Lords of Waterdeep. You're basically moving through the game by assigning agents to gather your adventurers to complete your quests, and you have a couple of options on each turn. Your first action that you can perform is assigning your agent. So, say you are the red sashes here, and that makes you the red, and you're going first. Well, I guess the city guard would be going first because they have the first player markers. So, city guard's going first. They have a quest right here that needs 2 wizards and 2 fighters and 4 gold, and that'll give them a reward of 9 victory points and 2 clerics. So they take their little meeple and they place here. They want to get those warriors. So that would then net them out of the supply 2 fighters that could go right in there in their tavern. And now they would have the option, because they assigned a meeple, to complete a quest. So me, when I like to play, I like to kind of line them up here on the quest so I know what I have. But they're not able to complete a quest, so that would be the end of their turn. This now, say you're the Silver Stars and you're going next, and you have one that needs 1 of the clerics, 1 of the fighters, and 1 of the rogues, and you also need 4 gold. You have the 4 gold and the 5 right here. But say you want to go to the plinth, and the plinth is where you're going to get your cleric. So your cleric's going to come over here. It's going to go to your tavern. You can keep track of it on here if you want to. And now they have the ability to complete a quest. But again, it's that first turn, so you're probably not going to be completing any quests, and unless you have like a nice intrigue card, but we'll get into intrigue cards in a little while. So let's go on to the next turn. Red Sashes are going to go now, and the Red Sashes have a quest where they need fighters. They can't go to the fighter spot. They can't go to the plinth spot, but they could get that rogue. If I was playing the Red Sashes, I'd probably go for that wizard that you're going to need for this quest, because that's going to net you a lot of the fighters, and then you could probably use that towards this quest. So the Red Sashes guy is going to go to the Blackstaff Tower, and he's going to get his wizard. Going to move it towards that one. Oh, I also forgot to mention that at the beginning of every round, the victory points from each stack go on to the buildings that are out in the builders hall. So now next turn we go around, still in round 1, and he is going to need those rogues to complete that quest, because he can't go for the one he was going for because that purple guy has already been taken, unless he wants to buy a building, which might be able to get some purples in the future. But so he's going to just go here. It's nice and simple. He's going to get himself some rogues. So the rogues are going to go here, and maybe now he's pursuing this quest because this one's pretty close. He just needs one more rogue and then 4 gold. So now he has the option of completing a quest, but again, he's not able to. So now the silver stars are going to go. They're going to assign their next meeple, and he surveys the board, and it looks like towards the quest that he was working on, he can't really get any more adventurers that is going to help him on that quest. So maybe he decides he wants to play an intrigue card. So he goes to Waterdeep Harbor. He looks at his intrigue cards, and these are kind of cards that can help you control the flow of the game. And he sees this intrigue card, which allows him to take 2 wizards from the supply, so 2 of these cubes, and place them in his tavern. So he sees he can do that and put it towards this quest. And he can choose one opponent. That opponent takes the 1 wizard from the supply and adds it to their tavern. So he might choose to go to either of them because this guy doesn't need one, but that guy needs more. So if you want to be strategic and you don't want to be nice, you could probably give it to this guy because he doesn't need it right now. He already got his wizard on the last turn. So now he's in Waterdeep Harbor. He kind of hangs out there. Now Red Sashes is going to go next, and Red Sashes sees that he might need some gold down the line, but he already has it. So he can't get any clerics, and he can't get any other pieces that he might want, but he doesn't want to go second next turn. He wants to go first. So he's going to go to Castle Waterdeep. That allows him to take this marker and put it in his control. So now he automatically starts first next turn. And he grabs an intrigue card from the stack to add it to his current stack of intrigue cards. So he might use that down the line. We go back to the city guard's turn, and he is looking at the board, and he realizes that he can't really get anything that he immediately needs because all he has is the gold, the 2 rogues, and the fighter, and he cannot get any purples, any wizards. He can't get the last rogue by going to one of the basic spaces. So he decides he's going to go to Waterdeep Harbor, and he just so happens to have a card in his intrigue stack that is similar to the purple card that was played by Silver Stars, and he's going to play that. It allows him to take 2 rogues from the supply and add them to his tavern. So 1 goes in there, 1 goes to complete that quest, and then he can choose another player that can complete a quest, and he's just going to go to Silver Stars here, and that kind of helps out Silver Stars towards his quest, but he had to choose somebody. Both of them needed a rogue. So now that he assigned a meeple, he is able to complete a quest, and we're going to get our first quest completion out of the game here, and he's going to turn in his 3 rogues and his 1 fighter and his 4 gold and complete this quest. His reward is then 10 victory points. So City Guard's going to move up to 10. And he gets an intrigue card as well. So the completed quest goes there. And the intrigue cards comes up and goes under here. So now we go to Silver Stars. And Silver Stars has 1 more meeple to assign. he's now in pretty good shape when it comes to this quest because he can pretty much complete it here. If I was him, I'd probably cash out my coins for some singles here so he can keep track of them a little bit better. And he's looking at potentially needing some purple pieces down the road, and he decides he's going to go to the Builder's Hall. So Builder's Hall allows him to pay 4 gold. He's going to take it away from that quest that he was building up towards. And then he's going to put a building under his control, and he's going to get that victory point, which is always nice. He's going to buy this building, put it under his control, and that's how you denote that. And it says when purchased and during the start of the round, you place 1 purple, 1 wizard on this space. So it gets 1 when it's purchased, and it gets, if somebody goes on this and uses this owner's building, they are going to get an intrigue card. Silver Stars now has the ability to turn in a quest if he's able to. Right now he's not able to, so we would move towards Red Sash's turn, but before we do, we're going to repopulate the Builder's Hall, and there's a nice 8 cost building coming out right there. So that if were to be purchased, it would give 2 fighters and 1 wizard to anybody who goes onto that building. It just becomes another space just like this one. And if somebody else goes on it that's not the owner will also get either a wizard or a fighter. So that's a nice one that you want to get out under your marker. Now let's move to the Red Sashes, and he's going to take his turn, and he is going to go for, he's not liking his quest selection, so he is going to try and go here, and he's going to pick up one of these quests. And he likes the look of this one right here. This is a lot of orange. He likes the fighters, and he thinks he's going to get this reward eventually, which is going to give him a lot of fighters that he can use towards this quest. So he pulls that out, and by going here, he gets to choose a quest, and he gets 2 gold, which can help him complete this quest and can help him also complete this quest. And he's going to pull out the next quest to repopulate the track here. And we're going to then do the Waterdeep Harbor section of the turn. The Waterdeep Harbor, or reassigning stage of your turn, only happens if you have a meeple on Waterdeep Harbor. Once you've played a meeple here, this is the space that allowed you to play those intrigue cards. You, at the end, once everybody's assigned their meeples, you are able to reassign to a different location. So Silver Stars is on the first marker here, so he's going to get to reassign first. He specifically purchased this building, so he could probably reassign to it. And he's going to take that wizard that was on there so that it helps him. Now he's only 1 gold away from completing that and 1 wizard, and that's a 25-point quest, so he's really gunning for that one. And now the city guard is going to get to reassign for his quest. So he's spent all his gold on the last one, completing his first quest, so he's going to reassign to here, and that's going to get him some gold back that he could then put towards this quest. And he's kind of setting himself up for the next turn. So that's how a typical turn works in Lords of Waterdeep. You assign your meeples to the different locations. You may build buildings. You have the incentive to build buildings because you're going to get victory points on those buildings with each round. And the longer they sit there, the more that's going to stack up. So it's really worthwhile to kind of purchase those buildings after a while. It also gives you a lot of variety to get more adventurers with the more powerful buildings. Certain buildings allow you to use other spaces as if they're already occupied, you can use them as if you're there. Some of them allow you to pull pieces back. Sometimes they'll give you victory points. Sometimes They'll give you a lot of different effects. Usually the buildings end up being a little bit better than the normal spaces that you can go on. That kind of a round that we just went through is kind of how the whole rest of the game is going to go. And it really comes down to how you strategize with taking the right quests and gathering resources, and how you play off the lord that you have. So now, after each round, we're going to gather up our meeples. They go back into our agents pool. This guy took the first player marker, so he gets to start first next turn. We advance our round tracker to round 2, which means we pull off these victory points, put them on the buildings that are out. Now these each have 2 victory points on them, making them very alluring, especially since this one gives the owner victory points, and it accumulates victory points, and it only costs 4. So that's actually a really good building that's sitting on the board. And now we would progress just like we progressed on the previous turn, assigning agents, completing quests, and reassigning if you have anything on Waterdeep Harbor. So now let's get into how the lords work and how you can kind of use that towards your victory. Okay, so let's go over how your lord card is going to work. This is dealt out to you randomly in the beginning of the game. Most of the lords are pretty much the same kind of principle. The only one that's really unique is this one right here, Larissa, and that's because Larissa is the only one that gives you points for something else that's not completing quests. Most of them are going to be like this one right here, where at the end of the game you score 4 victory points for each Arcana quest and each Piety quest you completed. So all the other lords are going to be ones that give you for a combination of quests. So like this one right here is Arcana and Skullduggery, and this one right here is Commerce and Skullduggery, and this one is Piety and Warfare. And she is different. This is the one that's called the Builder, that everybody kind of always tries to latch onto you if they think you are that one. Is there's an upward limit on this, because if people are building a lot of buildings, then you might run out of spaces to build buildings. It also prevents you from completing quests because you're constantly having to build buildings. But if you play it out right, you can open up a lot of great spaces to get people to go on to get you resources to complete quests while you're building buildings. Plus, you get access to all those great spaces, and you get access to 6 victory points per building. So you can end up with a lot of points towards the end. The thing is, you never want to kind of portray yourself as the builder, because if you're the builder, then people can just block the builder's hall, and you're going to have to constantly be going after that first player marker to make sure that you're going first and getting into the builder's hall every time. So you always want to downplay that you're the builder. Just a little bit of a tactical tidbit there from somebody who's played the game a lot. And now that you kind of understand the Lord cards, you understand the quests, we have gone through some round simulations, you pretty much have the principles behind the game. So let's get into my pros and cons. So now that you know how to play Lords of Waterdeep, let's get into my pros and cons. And I'm going to start off in my favorite place to start in every episode is the components. So, pros and cons of components. There's not really much to talk about in terms of cons. I really like all of the pieces. The coins are well made, like the little crescent-shaped ones, the victory point totems. I like the meeples and all the wooden figures. And the first player marker, the one that looks like a castle, I think that one's really cool. And the adventurer cubes. I like playing with those better than like little plastic ones, or if you were using anything made of cardboard, or like just like little coins that would denote your adventurers. I really like the fact that you can stack the cubes. I like that you keep track of the score by moving the little like hockey puck marker around the outside of the board. The card stock is really good. Like I haven't had to worry about them getting warped, or the paint on them, the artwork chipping, or any rips or anything like that. The everything's kind of held together really well, and I've played this game a lot. The building tiles are also sturdy and well made. They're well painted. If I'm going to talk about um, one con, it would maybe be a little bit more variety in the type of meeples that you're using. Maybe if they had like custom ones where they kind of had like shapes. I've seen some fan made custom ones online that you can get that actually look like a wizard and look like a rogue, and like the different things that you're gathering instead of the little cubes, and also some custom meeples. But it would be kind of cool if they actually kind of put out some official ones. But that's a really minor con and kind of nitpicky. Um, I think they really serve their purpose, and I like all of the pieces. So now let's talk about the strategy behind the game. So, talking about the pros and cons of the more strategic elements of the game, I think there's a lot of variability there. You can play the game in a lot of different ways. I've even tried little experimental tactics of, can I win just by using intrigue cards rather than focusing on placing workers in the majority of the spaces and just kind of going to Waterdeep Harbor over and over again and playing intrigue cards that way, getting people through mandatory quests to lose progress, and gathering my adventurers through the rewards that I can get from the intrigue cards, and that way works really well. And that's kind of a fun, weird way of playing the game. But it works, and that kind of speaks to the variability of how this game works. You can complete different types of quests. You can go for really big quests, like you can save up for those 25-point quests and gather adventurers for a few turns and then finally hit it and get a lot of points all at once. Or you can focus on building buildings to make sure that you can live off of the owner payments that you're getting when people go to your buildings. You can complete a lot of really small quests. You can kind of only go for plot quests where you're getting benefits, residual benefits, if they come out on the board, and that's a lot of tactics that you can kind of play around with. Whether you want to go for that first player marker, or whether you think that you can actually get the space that you want even without having to go first. It's fun in the fact that there's a lot of different ways you can approach it, and with the amount of people that I've played with, I've seen a bunch of different tactics, and based on what other games those people like to play, I can kind of see how they like to play this game. And that's always a plus in my book, when you can use a lot of different tactics to try and win the game and accomplish your goals throughout it. In terms of cons for strategy, there isn't really much there. There's I mean, it's kind of the same mechanic over and over again with completing the quests, but there's so many varied ways that you can do it that it really doesn't take away from the experience at all. Like, you have your goals that you're trying to go towards, whether you're getting money or whether you're getting adventurers. You can even just stock up on a bunch of resources and not even complete as many quests as you could and get points through the resources that you have at the end of the game. There's just so many ways that you can do it and so many different quests that I really don't think there's much of a on the strategy end of things. So now let's talk a little bit about the gameplay itself, and does it live up to what it promises? So, in terms of the gameplay and what the box kind of promises you, it promises you a great experience in the Dungeons and Dragons world, and that's going to be good for 2 to 5 people and last you 60 to 120 minutes. It also says that it's 12 plus, and I can say it's accurate on pretty much all of those counts. It's a great Dungeons and Dragons experience. We'll talk about theme in a minute, but all the games that I play pretty much run me between 60 and 120 minutes. They don't really go past that. Every once in a while, you'll get one that goes past that when you're playing with a full group of some new players that you might have to explain the rules a little bit to. The rules aren't very complicated. There's a book that's very detailed, like the back of the instruction manual kind of tells you how to set everything up all on one page, tells you how to do a specific turn. It's very simple, and the 12 plus is definitely a perfect age. My son was playing this game when he was 12, and I feel like it actually scales from the 2 to 5 players.
These are all pros in my book. I love when the information that you get on the game before you even open it up actually lives up to what the game actually is. So, in terms of what the box promises, you're getting exactly what it promises. So now let's talk a little bit about theme. That's something that I feel like can make or break any game that you're playing. Okay, so pros and cons of theme. The thematic elements in this game are heavy. I love the fact that you have these different lords that kind of all have their own backgrounds and all have a reason why they gravitate towards the different quest categories. I love the fact that all of the quests have great flavor text on them, and it kind of explains what's actually happening, and you can get a sense from the artwork, which is also great, kind of falls into theme as well. I love the fact that it's putting you into the role of the quest givers. When if you play D&D, you're always the adventurer, you're always the person who's going out and completing the task. You're never the one who's sitting in a tavern and trying to find his band of adventurers to go track down a bugbear or stop a revolution. And this kind of allows you to envision yourself as a master of the underground of Waterdeep, or a lord that owns property or buildings or businesses. And it's kind of a cool thematic element to it. The board has great artwork on it. I love the fact that they have like real locations from the lore that are the different locations that you can send your agents to try and gather up some adventurers to go on the quests. Like I said, I love the artwork on the quests. I love the artwork on the Lord cards, and the kind of the craftsmanship that went into crafting this whole theme, from the instruction booklet to the box to all of those kind of thematic elements. It shows that there was a lot of care that went into it. In terms of cons, I mentioned it earlier in the components. Maybe if we had different pieces that represented the different classes of adventurer, and that your meeple was a little bit less just like a kind of a standard meeple. But again, that's a nitpicky thing, and it's not necessary. And if it saves a little bit on the cost of the game, then that would be an element I would give up to allow more people to play it, because it's an absolutely amazing game from a thematic sense. So that's theme. Let's go a little bit into our final thoughts now. So, final thoughts time. What rating am I going to give it? I'm going to give it a 9. I absolutely love this game. I might even be able to push it to a 9.5, but I think I'll keep it at a 9. I absolutely love this game. It's my favorite worker placement game. I love the themes. I love the mechanics. I love all the quests. There's not really anything that I could nitpick on this game besides the handful of little things that I mentioned. But the it might even get a 10 in my book if I thought there was ever something as possible as a perfect game. But I absolutely love this game. I've played it so many times with a lot of different types of people, and I've played it with all different group sizes, and it always gives you a fun experience every time you play. There's a lot of different tactics that you can use, and I have played with the expansions that have come out for it, and we're gonna have a separate video discussing the expansions, but they just make the game even better. The I don't really see anybody that this game wouldn't work for, unless they're just somebody who has no interest in playing more strategic, like worker placement esque type of games. But pretty much any gaming group that actually has a gaming group would be able to take use of this game and absolutely love it and have a blast every time that you play. I don't think that there's so much skill reliant on this game where a new player can't come in and still do well. It's if you know how to play the game, obviously you're going to have an advantage, but there's no secrets to playing the game that makes it so if you play it a lot and then you bring it over to your friend's house or a party that has some people that have never played before, that you're easily going to dominate. You might know what things you should grab a little bit earlier and maybe which quests work out well, but there's so much variety in the quests that you might not hit a lot of the same quests that you hit every time. You could hit a whole different group the next time that you play. So that's my recommendation, is that you definitely check out Lords of Waterdeep. I absolutely love this game. I can't recommend it highly enough. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. on Lords of Waterdeep. I absolutely love this game. If you like these sorts of games, check out my other videos. I have a lot of different reviews on similar level games. If you want to check out another video about a game that I rated a 9, check out my video that just went up last week on Tiny Epic Zombies. If you want to check out my favorite horror themed game, go back and check out my review of Mountains of Madness. They're already up on the channel. I'm going to have a link down below in the description that can show you where you can get Lords of Waterdeep. There's no extra cost to you, but it really helps out the channel and I appreciate it. If you like what you see, leave a comment down below. What games would you rank a 9 out of 10? Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get notified about everything that I make going forward. And I'll catch you in the next episode.